Have you ever been in a room full of people and noticed your elderly loved one sitting quietly in the corner, almost invisible, like they've become part of the background? Maybe they used to be the heart of every gathering, full of stories, laughter, and warmth. But now it's like they're fading away and nobody really knows why. Or maybe deep down, you've felt it yourself. That quiet, creeping loneliness that no one talks about, even when surrounded by family and friends. That feeling that something important is missing. It's not just about growing older or physical changes you can see on the surface. Loneliness digs much deeper. It touches the mind, the heart, and even the body in ways that can be hard to understand. And here's the truth. Ignoring it doesn't make it go away. Whether you're caring for someone you love or facing these changes yourself, understanding what's really happening can make all the difference between feeling lost and feeling connected. Today, I want to share with you 5 brutal truths about loneliness and aging. Truths that too many seniors and families don't see coming. These aren't just small things you can brush off. They're real, raw realities that shape how we experience life after 80. And knowing them can change how you care, how you connect, and how you show compassion. If you're ready to learn, if you want to support your loved ones better, or even just understand yourself better, type "I'm here" in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to Elder Wisdom, where we talk openly and honestly about the realities of aging. Let's get into it. Key reality number 1, the silence that speaks volumes. Picture Mr. Johnson, a man who used to light up every room he entered. His laughter was contagious, his stories endless. But now, when you see him at family gatherings, he's sitting quietly, barely saying a word. At first, everyone thought he was just tired, maybe feeling a little slower with age. But the silence stretched on, day after day. Something deeper was happening. Here's the thing. As we get older, our brains don't respond to social connection the same way they used to. Loneliness isn't just feeling alone. It actually changes the way our brain works. When social interactions fade, the areas responsible for mood and memory start to shrink. That silence? It's more than just a lack of conversation. It can be a sign that depression is creeping in or that cognitive decline might be starting. The brain craves connection, and without it, things get harder, not easier. Many families fall into the trap of thinking their elderly loved one just prefers to be alone. They assume silence means contentment, that seniors want solitude after a long life. But that's often far from the truth. This quietness is more like a signal, a silent cry for emotional support that's going unnoticed. It's a warning sign that the heart and mind aren't getting what they need. So what can you do? It doesn't take grand gestures. Simple routines can make a huge difference. A daily phone call, even just to say hello. Sharing a hobby like gardening, cooking, or listening to music together. These small moments of connection help break through the silence, reminding your loved one they're seen and valued. It's not about forcing conversation, but creating safe spaces for it to happen naturally. And this silence is just one side of the story, because loneliness doesn't only affect the mind, it takes a physical toll too. That's what we'll explore next. Key reality number 2, loneliness manifests as physical fatigue. Now think of Mrs. Lee, a gentlewoman in her early 80s who always kept her home spotless and her garden blooming. Lately, though, she's been complaining about being tired all the time. She's sleeping through the night, napping during the day, and still she says she's exhausted. Doctors ran tests. Heart, fine. Blood pressure, normal. Nothing seemed wrong, and yet something clearly was. This kind of fatigue can be one of the most misunderstood signs of aging loneliness. What most people don't realize is that loneliness doesn't just make you feel emotionally drained. It physically weighs the body down. When a person feels deeply alone for long stretches of time, the body interprets that as chronic stress. cortisol levels rise, the immune system weakens. The body is constantly on edge, even if there's no visible danger. That long-term stress begins to wear the body out. It's like running a marathon every single day without ever crossing the finish line. Families often chalk this up to just getting older. They hear a senior say, "I'm tired," and immediately think it's because of age or maybe poor sleep. But when someone is persistently fatigued and medical tests aren't pointing to a clear cause, it's time to consider what's happening on a deeper level. Could it be that what they're really tired of is being alone? Here's the key. Rest alone won't solve this kind of tiredness. In fact, too much sitting and sleeping can make it worse. What truly helps is gentle, consistent engagement, encouraging a light walk outside, inviting a neighbor over for coffee, attending a local senior group, or even just stepping outside and waving to familiar faces. These acts don't just stimulate the body, they reawaken the spirit. Because sometimes what a senior really needs is not another nap, but another reason to feel alive. And speaking of life, what we eat or don't eat says a lot about how alive we feel. In the next part, we're going to talk about something most people overlook until it's too late: how loneliness can quietly affect appetite and nutrition. Key reality number 3, appetite loss, more than just picky eating. Now think about Grandpa, the one who used to light up every Sunday dinner with his jokes, his big appetite, and that famous way he'd always ask for a second helping of mashed potatoes. Then one day, he started saying he wasn't that hungry. At first, the family joked about it. Maybe he'd had a big lunch, maybe his tastes were changing. But weeks went by, and soon he was barely touching his meals. Even his favorite dessert sat untouched. People started whispering, "He's just being stubborn." But what if it wasn't that at all? This is where many families miss something deeply important. Loss of appetite in older adults is often brushed off as being picky or difficult. But loneliness, real, gnawing, empty loneliness, can completely change how the body functions, including how and when it wants to eat. When a person feels isolated, the body reduces production of key hormones, ones that normally trigger hunger. The brain, lacking regular social interaction and stimulation, begins to pull away from even the most basic joys, like eating. For someone living alone, especially, the act of cooking, plating food, or even sitting down to eat can feel pointless. They're not just losing appetite for food, they're losing appetite for life. And here's where the common mistake happens. Families, in their worry, often try to force food. "You need to eat," they say. "Come on, just one more bite." But force rarely fixes the issue. In fact, it can make the person feel more pressured, more misunderstood, and even more alone. So what helps? Connection. Simple, heartfelt connection. Instead of pushing big meals, try offering small, nourishing snacks throughout the day. Something easy to eat and enjoyable. And if you can, eat with them. Even if it's just tea and toast, the act of sharing that moment, being together, sends a message far louder than any lecture about nutrition. It says, "You matter. You're not invisible, and I'm here." Because in the end, it's not just about calories, it's about care. And this brings us to another brutal truth that too many overlook until it's already shrinking away: the vanishing social circle. Let's talk about that next. Key reality number 4, the social circle shrinks, often without warning. One day, it just starts to happen, quietly, without much warning. Your mom might mention that her friend from church isn't coming around anymore. Maybe your dad stops getting those early morning phone calls from his old golf buddy. At first, it doesn't seem like much. Just life, right? People move. Some get sick. Some pass on. But then before anyone realizes it, the phone stops ringing. The invitations slow down, the coffee meetups vanish. And that once full calendar, now it's mostly blank. You look up one day and notice your parents sitting on the porch alone. Same spot. Every day, watching the world go by like a distant movie, and in that silence, something begins to change. See, aging comes with a natural and painful reduction in social circles. Friends pass away, siblings move into care homes, longtime neighbors sell their homes and leave. The very people who made someone feel known, remembered, and seen slowly begin to disappear. And the space they leave behind? It's not just empty, it's heavy. This isn't just a sad part of life, it's a serious emotional and neurological shift. Studies show that when seniors lose meaningful social interaction, their brains begin to register it, the same way they register physical pain. This kind of chronic disconnection doesn't just lead to sadness, it raises the risk for depression, anxiety, and even early cognitive decline. Yet families often shrug and say, "That's just how it goes." They mean well. But this kind of loneliness, it's not inevitable, and it's not irreversible. Here's where we can do something powerful. Even if someone's old friends are no longer around, that doesn't mean connection has to end. Community centers, senior clubs, walking groups, hobby classes, these aren't just time fillers, they're lifelines. They're opportunities for new friendships, fresh conversations, and renewed purpose. Sometimes just the act of getting dressed and going somewhere familiar, hearing laughter, being greeted by name, is enough to remind someone that they still belong. And if mobility or energy is an issue, even a weekly ride to the library or a community lunch program can make a world of difference. You'd be surprised how often one conversation over coffee can turn into a reason to smile again. Because shrinking circles don't mean the heart has shrunk. The need for connection doesn't go away with age, it grows. And if we ignore that, well, the consequences go deeper than we often realize. Now, there's one more truth we need to face, and it's the one most seniors are afraid to talk about. The emotional highs and lows they quietly carry, the ones they hide with a brave face. Let's talk about that next. Key reality number 5, the hidden emotional burden. Loneliness can lead to fear and shame. Now, here's the part that hits the hardest, and yet it's the least talked about. Many older adults won't tell you they're lonely. Not because they're fine, not because they don't feel it, but because deep down they're afraid of what it might mean to say it out loud. Let me tell you what I've heard time and time again. An elderly mother will smile and say, "Oh, I'm okay, sweetheart, just tired." But what she means is, "I've gone 3 days without hearing another voice." A proud grandfather might laugh it off when he eats dinner alone every night, saying, "I like my quiet." But inside, he's wondering if anyone remembers he's still around. There's this heavy, hidden emotional burden that builds with loneliness, one wrapped up in fear and even shame. Fear of becoming a burden, fear of sounding needy, fear that saying "I'm lonely" might be met with pity, or worse, silence. And then there's the shame, that awful feeling that something must be wrong with them if they're feeling this way, that they're too emotional, too soft, that they should just toughen up like they always have. But let me tell you the truth. Loneliness doesn't make someone weak. In fact, it takes incredible strength to carry it day after day in silence. To keep showing up with a smile, even when your heart is heavy. And sadly, because so many seniors don't speak up, and because too many people assume it's just part of getting older, the problem gets buried, ignored, until it turns into something much deeper: anxiety, hopelessness, even depression. Science backs this up. When loneliness is internalized, when it festers unspoken, it impacts the brain's emotional regulation centers. It raises stress hormones, disturbs sleep, and lowers resilience. It chips away at someone's joy, bit by bit. And the worst part, this is all avoidable. So here's what you can do. And it starts with listening, not fixing, not lecturing, just listening. Ask your loved one gently, how are you really feeling these days? And then wait. Give space. Let them speak without rushing to cover the silence. Normalize those conversations. Remind them and yourself that talking about feelings isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's self-care. It's healing. If they seem stuck, consider involving a counselor or a senior therapist, someone trained to help unpack what they've carried for too long. There's no shame in seeking help. In fact, it's one of the most powerful steps a person can take at any age, because no one, no matter how old, should feel invisible. No one should carry shame just for wanting connection, and no one should be left to navigate the quiet pain of loneliness alone. We've talked about silence, fatigue, appetite, lost friendships, and now this hidden emotional weight. And if you've made it this far, I know your heart is in the right place. You're someone who cares deeply, someone who wants to show up better. So don't stop here. Stick around, because in the next part of this video, we'll go even deeper. I'll show you how to turn these truths into real change, small, practical actions that bring light back into the lives of those we love. Actions that just might save someone from slipping too far into the shadows. Let's keep going. Watching someone you love slowly fade into silence, seeing the spark in their eyes grow dimmer, noticing how they spend more and more time alone. It's not just sad. It's a kind of heartbreak that doesn't come with a loud cry or dramatic moment. It's quiet. It happens in the little things. When they start saying, "I'm fine," more often than they should. When they eat dinner in silence. When the phone stops ringing. When laughter becomes rare. And it's hard, so hard, because sometimes, as family, you don't even realize it's happening until the loneliness has already taken root. But let me tell you this, what you're feeling right now, that ache in your chest, that knot in your throat, that's not helplessness, that's love, that's awareness waking up. And that's where the power lies, because once you see what loneliness looks like in aging, you can't unsee it, and that's a gift. A painful one, yes, but also a powerful one. You see, it's not just about recognizing the signs. It's about realizing that you have options, that with every kind word, every check-in, every shared laugh, you are building a bridge back to connection. You're showing that someone still matters, that they're still seen. Maybe you felt overwhelmed before, unsure of what to say or how to help. But let me reframe this for you. This isn't about doing something perfect. It's about doing something meaningful. Call them today. Even if it's just to talk about the weather. Ask how they're feeling, not just what they've been doing. Invite them to sit outside with you, even if it's quiet. Bring over a favorite snack. Look through old photos together. Watch their favorite movie. These small steps, they speak louder than you realize. Because aging and loneliness, they don't have to go hand in hand. Not if we choose to be present, not if we choose to care, even when it's inconvenient. Not if we remember that love isn't just about big gestures, it's about consistent presence. So let's not leave our elders in the shadows. Let's walk with them. Let's listen to them. Let's make sure they know they still matter. Every single day. Now, before we close out, let's gently go back over what we've learned together today. There are 5 key realities of aging loneliness you should never ignore. First, the silence. Not peaceful quiet, but the kind that hides pain. Second, the fatigue. Not just tiredness, but exhaustion that stems from emotional isolation. Third, the loss of appetite. Not picky eating, but a deep disinterest tied to sadness and lack of connection. Fourth, the shrinking social circle. Friends moving away, passing on, or just fading out of regular life. And fifth, the hidden emotional weight. The fear, the shame, the silence about the silence. If any of these sound familiar, don't wait. Reach out. Start small. Start today. You don't need to fix everything overnight. You just need to show up and keep showing up. And please don't keep your story to yourself. Share in the comments. Tell us what you've seen, what you've felt, what you've learned. You might be surprised how many people are walking this road quietly, just like you, and how much your voice can help someone else feel seen. And if this video touched something in your heart, even just a little, take a second to subscribe to Elder Wisdom. This space is here for people like you, people who care, people who want to do better, people who see the ones too often overlooked. Together we can create a world where aging isn't feared, it's honored, where loneliness isn't ignored, it's understood, and where every elder, every parent, every grandparent, every neighbor is surrounded by the compassion they deserve. Thank you for spending your time here with me. Thank you for caring, and thank you for being part of this conversation. Stay strong, stay connected, and I'll see you in the next video.